So I think a common theme of the dietary guidelines, whether you're looking at the USDA dietary guidelines or American Heart Association, is to lower your sodium consumption. And a lot of times when people think of sodium, they think of salt and they think of a salt shaker. But the salt shaker is not the problem, it's the processed food. So this picture here shows just, where people are getting their sodium from. And 77% of sodium in your diet comes from processed foods. So, even if it's small changes, just like, taking one processed meal a week out of your diet, that will really help. So just as much as you can, just trying to avoid eating the processed foods. And it could be, again, small changes. Instead of picking pretzels or chips to snack on, pick some unsalted nuts. Then you're not only lowering your sodium intake, but you're increasing your nut intake, which is associated with all kinds of good things. It's associated with lower blood sugar for folks who have diabetes. It's associated with heart health. So, snack on nuts. Again, choose brown rice instead of rice mixes. Things like rice-a-roni and Lipton noodles and things like that, they have tons of sodium. So if you eat one container of this, you're probably getting more than 100% of your what you need for sodium a day. So just try to avoid those and replace them with lower sodium options. Meat. So spam is full of sodium. It's really not good for folks who have diabetes. It's really not good for your heart. So instead of choosing these canned meats, hot dogs are the same, Vienna sausages are the same, banquet chicken is the same, lots of sodium. But instead of choosing these processed meats, choose fresh or frozen meats instead. They take a little bit of time to cook. And I'll talk a little bit about that on a different slide, but, just take one day a week, just, bake some chicken on a Sunday, and keep it in your fridge for the week. And then you'll have chicken for the whole week. You can make chicken salads. You can have it in a sandwich. You can, just have it, with rice. Those are things that you can do. And also, if you eat frozen or canned vegetables, make sure you're choosing the no salt added version. And it usually says so on the can if there's salt or not added. So that will also help you reduce your sodium intake. Okay, so food dollars. And I know that Lyle's going to talk about this in a little bit, but spend wisely. So, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about eating healthy. And some people think that in order to eat healthy, you should only eat fresh foods. But canned vegetables and frozen vegetables and canned fruits with no sugar added, those are healthy. They're healthy and they have just as many nutrients and fiber as the fresh versions, and they're significantly cheaper. And you can use them in casseroles. You can just steam them, and often they taste just as good as fresh. And at least in places that might not have good quality fresh produce, it's probably they probably even taste better than some of the options that may be a little bit old on the grocery shelf. In time, this is a big one. This is a big one for me, as a mom of 2 kids. But and I try to do this as best as I can, and it's hard. And some weeks you don't succeed, but try to plan your meals in advance. So what I try to do is I try to sit down on a Sunday and just write down the days of the week and say, okay, so what am I going to eat I look in my fridge, see what I have, look in my cupboards and see what I have, and just kind of plan my meals out. And often what this means for me, and I don't often have time to cook during the week, is just, doing all of my meals on Sunday. So I might just make, a super chili for the week and double or triple the recipe, and that's what I'll eat for the week. That way I don't have to cook, during the week after work, when my kids get home from daycare, but I have food I can just, heat it up in the microwave. And sometimes that's hard, with childcare, to even find a couple of hours on a Sunday to cook. But that's what I try to do, is just try to, cook double recipes, triple recipes one day a week, and then have that food for the rest of the week. And that's a really big time saver, at least in my experience. Another thing that you could do is prep your fruits and vegetables in advance. Cut up your fruits, cut up your vegetables, take half an hour of your Sunday and do that, and put them in Tupperware containers in your fridge. And that way you have them, you could, to cook with during the week if you decide to cook during the week, or you have things to snack on. You can cut up carrots, you can cut up, celery, You can wash apples and cut them up so that your kids have fresh fruits and vegetables to snack on throughout the week. As far as physical activity, and I already alluded to this before, is just movement. You don't have to run marathons. You don't have to find a 30-minute block to lift weights or to go for a walk. Any movement at all has health benefits. Even if this is just a 5-minute walk outside, or working in your garden, that counts as physical activity too. So getting your gardening done, doing your yard work. Anything that gets your body moving has health benefits. And if you're watching TV or reading, stretch between commercials or do a few laps around the house. Anything just to not sit is really important. And we're in really strange times right now. So eating healthy and being physically active during the pandemic has its own challenges. So just a couple of tips that I have is try to avoid unnecessary trips to the store. And usually what this means is planning in advance. So make your grocery list, figure out what you're going to eat for the week so you don't have to keep going out into the public and exposing yourself potentially to COVID. And also buy foods with longer shelf life. So things like eggs and canned tuna, peanut butter, rice, beans, and canned fruits, they'll last for an indefinite amount of time. So stock up on those sorts of items. And if you are buying fresh foods, choose those foods wisely. Not all fresh foods spoil at the same time. So things like carrots, potatoes, apples, and oranges, they're not going to spoil as quickly as things like lettuce or grapes or berries. So you can avoid trips to the store just by buying food that will last a little bit longer. Another thing, and I think Jason talked about this last week, is practice mindful eating. So pay attention, to why are you eating, what you're eating, how are you eating, and how much you're eating. Because sometimes we eat, you make a snack. Why are you eating? Are you eating because you're hungry, or you're eating because you're watching the news and you're feeling stressed? I mean, we all do these things. So just be mindful of that. And also what you're eating. So are you eating something that was in the green category, fruits, vegetables, lean meats, or are you eating something that's in the red category like pop and chips? And also, how are you eating? Try to avoid eating in front of the television or in front of your phone or in front of your computer. And if you do that, put it on a plate. So, that way you have better control over the portion size. Sometimes, you can sit in front of your TV and have a whole bag of chips, and then the next thing you know, the bag of chips is gone. But if you actually portion it out onto a plate, then once it's off your plate, then you're not going to have any more. So that's also, a way to be mindful of what you're eating. And then, the pandemic, a lot of us are homebound right now. So my main advice is to just avoid sitting. So, do some stretching. You can work in your yard, you're still socially distanced from others, and just be active with your kids. Go for a walk with your kids, play catch with your kids. These are different ways just to get some physical activity in while we're trying to maintain social distance.